The door was never supposed to be locked. After 8 years of marriage, I could count on one hand the number of times we had ever locked the bedroom door. Once, it was to keep our dog from crashing in during an anniversary morning. Another time, it was when Sarah's sister dropped by unexpectedly, and we just wanted a few minutes of peace. But this was something else entirely. The sharp click of the lock on the other side of the door wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It was a thunderous rupture in my chest. That sound didn't just keep me out of a room. It shut me out of the life I thought I had. Then came the laughter, muffled but unmistakable. Hers light, melodic. The kind of laugh she used to give me when I'd tell her one of my dumb jokes, pretending it was funnier than it really was. And his deep, confident, and completely foreign, a stranger's voice, a sound that had no place inside our home. I didn't think. I reacted. My shoulder crashed against the wood with force that rattled through the frame. The lock splintered with a sickening crack, and the door flung open violently, slamming into the wall like the climax of a nightmare. And there they were, Sarah, and him tangled up in our sheets, my sheets, the same ones that had once been soaked in whispered dreams, in shared secrets and warm Sunday mornings, now desecrated by someone else's hands. James, she gasped, scrambling to pull the sheet over herself, her face draining of color. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. There was no covering this up. He looked younger than me, maybe 5 or 6 years, tan, muscular, that irritating air of unearned confidence. Someone who believed the world owed him nothing but praise. For a second, we just stared at each other, him frozen in panic, Sarah trembling, and me standing there, a storm of disbelief, betrayal, and fury building inside. "Who the hell are you?" I growled, my voice low but cracked with rage. He opened his mouth to speak, but only silence came out. Then he lunged for his pants on the floor, as if covering his shame could somehow reverse what had already happened. "Answer me," I barked. Taking a step forward, he flinched, his hands shaking as he yanked on his jeans like a coward caught in the act. "James." "Stop," Sarah choked out, her voice fragile. I didn't look at her. Couldn't. If I did, I might completely lose control. "You don't get to speak," I snapped, eyes still locked on him. "Not right now." Finally, the stranger managed to find his voice. "Look, man, I didn't know. "What?" I cut in, stepping forward again. "Didn't know she was married. Didn't know this was my house. Didn't know you were screwing her in my bed." His silence confirmed it. He knew. He just didn't care. I didn't hit him, though. Every nerve in my body screamed to, my fists clenched so tightly they shook. But I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction. He wasn't worth it. "Get out," I said coldly. He hesitated, eyes darting between me and Sarah. I said get out. I growled louder. That did it. He fumbled the rest of his clothes together and bolted from the room, nearly tripping over himself. As he rushed out, the front door slammed shut behind him, leaving a silence so sharp it buzzed in my ears. Sarah sobbed softly, curled in the sheets like she was trying to disappear. I turned toward her, and when I finally looked into her eyes, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger. "James," she began. "Don't," I said, raising a hand to stop her. "Just don't." Her lips quivered. She clutched the sheet. "Closer. It was a mistake," she whispered. "It didn't mean anything." I laughed. A hollow, bitter sound that barely sounded like my own voice. "Didn't mean anything." I repeated slowly. "You bring a man into our bed and you expect me to believe it didn't mean anything?" She reached out to me, but I stepped back. The space between us felt like a canyon I could never cross again. "I don't want to hear it right now," I said. "I can't." Without another word, I turned and walked out. The bedroom door hung broken on its hinges, a perfect reflection of what had just happened to my life. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. My mind was an endless loop of rage, disbelief, and the memory of what I'd seen. Every time I closed my eyes, it came back to me, her hands on him, his laugh, their betrayal. By morning, the shock had hardened into something colder, something calculated. I wasn't going to let this break me. No, I was going to break them. Sarah tiptoed around me like a child who knew she was in trouble, her eyes puffy from crying. She thought silence meant I was considering forgiveness. But I wasn't. I was planning. I had always managed our finances, She never paid much attention. She didn't know about the separate account I'd been quietly growing for years. That afternoon, I moved all our joint savings into that account. She wouldn't see a single dollar. Then, I filed for divorce. I collected every piece of proof: photos, messages, even footage from our security camera showing him entering the house. My lawyer looked over the evidence and just nodded. It was a slam dunk. Adultery cases were hard to argue, especially with this much proof. But I wasn't finished. A few online searches led me straight to Tyler's workplace, a gym where he worked as a personal trainer. His social media was a goldmine of selfies, shirtless pics, and cringe-worthy motivational quotes. I compiled everything: photos of him leaving my house, the messages between him and Sarah, screenshots of the Snapchat post. I sent the full package to his boss. The fallout was brutal. Within days, Tyler was unemployed, his image shattered. Clients dropped him like dead weight, and the gym distanced themselves fast. But I wasn't satisfied yet. I wanted the humiliation to reach further. So I sent everything to his girlfriend. Her response was instant. She dumped him, then blasted every detail on social media. The story spread like wildfire. Tyler went from smug to radioactive. By week's end, he was completely isolated. Sarah never saw it coming. She thought the silence meant I was considering staying. When the divorce papers landed in her hands, she crumbled. She cried, begged, made all the empty promises. But I didn't waver. You didn't just cheat, I told her. One night while she pleaded at the kitchen table, you laughed at me. In our bed, you didn't just break a vow, you spit on it. She had nothing left. The house, mine, inherited from my parents. The savings, gone, unreachable. Her friends, most of them distanced themselves when the truth surfaced. She was alone in a wreckage of her own design. I spent the following months rebuilding what she tried to destroy. Therapy helped. So did long walks, picking up the guitar again, and reconnecting with old friends who welcomed me without judgment. The revenge felt good, but it wasn't the end. It was the start of something better. The house still echoed, quieter than ever. Sarah moved out the day after the papers were served. She only took what she could carry. The rest are photos. Our memories were just shadows in corners now. But I didn't let them rot. I took action, repainted the walls, changed the decor, bought a new mattress. Everything she had touched, I replaced it, rebuilt it. Each change was a way to reclaim myself. Tyler's downfall didn't stop with his job. The gym had been his identity, his pride. The moment his reputation collapsed, his social life collapsed too. I kept an eye on it, not out of obsession, but out of closure. His Instagram grew silent. Friends stopped tagging him. His online presence all but vanished. One day, I got a message from his ex-girlfriend. She thanked me, not for revenge, but for the truth. Tyler had been gaslighting her for years. Knowing the truth freed her, too. That meant something. Sarah spiraled just as badly. The voicemails came first, teary, angry, desperate. You're punishing me too much, she cried. In one, we both made mistakes. Don't you think I've suffered enough? The irony nearly made me laugh. She didn't know what suffering was. She hadn't walked in on laughter that was never meant for her ears. But the final straw came when she showed up at the house. Uninvited. She looked tired, hollow, not the woman I once loved, just a shadow of her. James, please, she said, standing in the doorway like a ghost. Can we just talk? I looked at her, and for the first time in forever, felt nothing. There's nothing to talk about, Sarah. You made your choices. I was lonely, she cried. You were always working, always distracted. And that justifies bringing someone into our home. I snapped. If you were unhappy, you could have talked to me, or left. But instead, you brought him into our bed and laughed at me. She cried harder, but her tears meant nothing now. I shut the door and locked it behind her. Revenge had been satisfying, but it wasn't healing. The house was mine, yes, but the peace came only through understanding that I had nothing to blame myself for. Therapy forced me to dig deep, not to forgive them, but to forgive myself for missing the red flags, for loving too hard, for believing I wasn't enough, when the truth was, I was never the problem. Eventually, the rage quieted into indifference. I stopped checking Tyler's pages, stopped wondering about Sarah. They no longer existed in my life. I dove into new projects. I transformed the house, picked up painting, hiked, played the guitar I'd abandoned for years, reconnected with old friends, people who saw me, not just someone's husband. And one day, it happened, I ran into Sarah at a coffee shop. She looked thin, her eyes hollow. She asked if she could sit. I nodded, not out of warmth, but curiosity. "I'm sorry," she said, voice cracking. "I know I've said it before, but this time, I mean it. I lost everything. I don't blame you." It caught me off guard because for the first time, it sounded real. "I appreciate that," I replied calmly, "but it doesn't matter anymore. I've moved on." Her eyes welled up, but she nodded. "I hope you find happiness, James. I already have." She walked away, and I felt a weight fall off my shoulders. Life didn't return to normal. It became something better. The betrayal that once burned now lived only as a scar, a reminder that I survived, that I rose, that I rebuilt. And as I sat on the porch of my freshly renovated house, watching the sun sink behind the trees, I realized something. The best revenge wasn't destroying them. It was rebuilding a life so beautiful. They were no longer part of the picture at all.